Welcome to the Blue Mountains International Hotel Management School's 30th Anniversary Special Webinar event, our Global Perspective Series. Over the next 5 weeks, we are in conversation with senior hoteliers from 5 different countries discussing how their destination and hotel are preparing for the post-COVID operations. My name's Gareth and I'm one of the success coaches and industry consultant for our school. In the spirit of reconciliation, Torrens University Australia and the Blue Mountains International Hotel Management School acknowledges the traditional custodians of the country throughout Australia and their connections to land, sea and community. We pay our respect to their elders past and present and extend that respect to all Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples today. There is much excitement as destinations around the world emerge from the health pandemic. Hotels are focused on rebuilding and skilling their workforce while considering how innovation successfully introduced over the last 18 months may become part of post-COVID operations. Over the next 5 weeks, we want to talk to people who have successfully navigated their hotels through the last 2 years and are now ready to embrace the resurgence in tourism and hospitality. We will hear firsthand why a career in hotel management is now more important and more rewarding than it has ever been. We will also be hosting a Q&A at the end of each of the sessions, so please feel free to insert any questions that you may have, and we will get to those at the end of this chapter. Our first guest is one of our own, an alumni who graduated in 2000. His impressive career has taken him around the world to regions such as the US, the Middle East, and more recently, his home country of India, where in his latest capacity, he is now the General Manager of the Crowne Plaza, New Delhi, Rohini. His passion has also seen him awarded the most enterprising hospitality professional from both the Indian and Northern Indian Travel Award publications. Respected for his wealth of knowledge across the hospitality sector, specializing in revenue management, sales and marketing strategies, and more. Mr. Amit Rana, namaste. Good morning, sir.
Namaste.
How are you?
Very good, Gareth. Thank you so much. Really excited to be here early. Well, in India, it's early morning. So great. Thank you. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to sharing my experience. And I think it's great to be back, to be connected with this school again.
And it's wonderful to welcome you home as well. We can call it like that for sure. So Amit, I wanted to kind of first off, if I can kind of ask you just kind of give us a quick day in the life and an overview of your current role. And what about your role and obviously, about the hotel itself?
Okay, so this is actually a 183 room hotel. I'm the general manager. Pre-pandemic, we had about 600 employees, but post-pandemic, I mean, that's gone down. Otherwise, the hotel's strategically located in the northwest of Delhi. It's buzzing around. It's an upcoming market. So it's a new corporate that's growing up. The hotel is very well known for a social wedding destination. We have huge catering facility. The hotel got a catering space of 60,000 square feet, and we cater to weddings, and we've been established in for over 10 years now. But the hotel is very well known in the local community for being the place for social destinations.
Okay, all right. And I mean, before I kind of think we jump into talk about the disruption and India as a market, I guess the first thing I want to say is a massive congratulations to you and the team. Couldn't help but see your LinkedIn last week with the news that the Crowne Plaza Rohini is now in the top 3 of 2,204 hotels on the TripAdvisor Traveler ranking. That's incredible. An amazing achievement, obviously, and I think really, really uplifting, no doubt, for the team with everything that's going on and kind of almost shoulder to the wheel and ready to hit the ground running, I guess I would assume.
Absolutely. And then look, Gareth, it's not easy. I mean, the responsibility that you hold, achieving it and staying there on 3rd position is one, but sustaining it, we've been sustaining it for the last 3 months now. And of course, the ambition of the team is to be number 1, but it's not easy. The customer, the clientele, everything has changed. The expectations, what we were used to 2 years ago, have completely changed. Today, the traveler is not the same that it used to be 2 years ago. So it gives a huge responsibility to us to deliver to those expectations and consistently make sure that people are getting what they're expecting.
And I mean, I think to kind of deep dive into the market then, and obviously, especially for our students that are obviously back home at the moment with a lot of
Yeah,
interest. But India's progressive approach to vaccinations has led to an increase in travellers, and the
absolutely.
hotel demand, especially in the leisure segment. And beyond the noticeable improvement, however, it's interesting to see that the country is showing a different trend in which markets are regaining that occupancy. And I'm, as noted in all the recent press releases, and obviously from an industry side for myself, and looking at the amazing webinars, through, for example, the STR revenue management team, who I know we've all been following very, very thoroughly over the last 18 months. But India's recovery after that first COVID wave was really kind of concentrated in those leisure destinations.
Yeah.
And in particular areas such as Goa, Udaipur as well in Rajasthan. And I mean, in there it looks incredible. I mean, we're even actually seeing hotel openings happening in this time. We look at in the Udaipur region, with the core bringing the Raffles brand obviously to there, and I mean, a little bit closer to home for yourself, obviously IHG and that beautiful new Six Senses at Fort Bawara that's going to be opening in October as well. But I mean, I guess with the latest round of recovery, heavily populated markets and metro cities such as New Delhi and Mumbai have seen such an improvement. And it's even more astronomical to see that the luxury segment RevPAR is actually getting back to those 2019 levels. So I mean, what do you see currently happening, obviously from your chair, let's kind of put it like that, and IHG? And I guess secondly, looking at how that shift in change in both the guest and employee preference and confidence has kind of grown over these last few months.
Gareth, I think the numbers speak for themselves. You've shown those in the STR report, and you're absolutely right. The first ones to bounce back to the normal level and even exceeding 2019 numbers have been the leisure destinations. Those have astronomically grown and have seen much better performance than what 2019 had shown, because revenge travel, that's the new word which everyone's got into. Everyone's got in that. And having said that, people are sick and tired of sitting at home. They want to travel. Unfortunately, with the restrictions globally, there are limitations. India as a country has a huge diversity, has a lot of destinations which people haven't explored, because everybody has decided when they wanted to travel or traveling outside India. So now is the time people are using that, and leisure destinations are the first hotspots which people are traveling to, and they're exploring, and so much so, like you rightly said, the amount of hotels that are opening in leisure destinations, surprisingly, are far more. Six Senses, as you rightly said, that's amazing. And the kind of ADRs that we're going to be looking at that Six Senses is nothing what the country's seen so far. So you're absolutely right. And the positivity, what even for my hotel, I would say, we started from 40% occupancy and we've brought it up to 60. I think the whole journey has been really motivating for people, for my team members. They've seen the growth happening. They've seen that the numbers are coming back again, not to 2019 level occupancies yet, but definitely what we've seen is that business is coming back with a different segment. Corporates have still not traveled to travel. They are not traveling right now. So we still see a lot of leisure. We still see a lot of business movement, which is happening in FITs.
Okay. And I mean, what have been your own key learnings over the past 18 to 20 months, and how's that kind of changed or maybe altered your leadership? Has your leadership style kind of diverted itself, kind of had to enhance and change a little bit, or if you just kind of powered on through with your own style still?
Look, I think I'd be naive to say that we haven't changed. With the uncertainty that the COVID has shown us, this has just brought us to a new level. I mean, I think everyone's gone 10 years ahead.
Mm-hmm.
As a company, as a brand, IHG Clean Promise, that's the very close. And I'm the custodian. So having a general manager being IHG Clean Promise custodian means I am the one who has to deliver cleanliness and to every guest in terms of hygiene. So I think those are some factors which have really brought the brand promise and the brand commitment is something which I am the custodian of at the hotel with the team. The team looked up to me, and I have to make sure. So with the team, we've been making sure that the guests who are coming feel comfortable, feel safe, and consistently we've got sanitizers, masks around the hotel. We still follow all the protocols of COVID, even though it's slacked around outside. But I think the safety measures and the confidence that you give to guests has assured them that the hotel is a safe place to be in. Because right now, when people are traveling, the first and foremost choice, what people look at is how safe is the place is when I'm traveling with my family. Nobody wants to take risks on that. So I think what has changed is living in this world of uncertainty. That is now going away. You can't plan for 6 months. You can't plan for a year. You need to plan for 1 month, and you need to have a backup plan for everything. I think that is the new normal. The new normal is you can't plan for next 12 months out. Uncertainty is still something that has a cloud, but I think it's going to slowly go away.
And I can just feel that positive energy from you in that regard. And I mean, so would you kind of say the personal and company strategies for the imminent future are it's hard to kind of put something together, or it's just a case of not, as you said, I suppose, not looking too far further afield, but just kind of enhancing it with what we've got in the foreseeable future?
Look, I think to get it right, I mean, from a bounce back, I think that's the question, right? From bouncing back and to the new, I think the social segment, the wedding segment is a very big segment now for every hotel in the country. Yeah, and that's a pretty big thing. People used to travel outside. Those things have gone away. So the business which is going to come back now, first and foremost, is the social business, with meetings slowly coming up in small 50 to 100 gatherings. So those are the normal corporate meetings, from moving away from online, coming to face. Those are something that are going to be coming first.
So it's similar in Australia. We were I was on a call earlier this week with one of our industry partners here, and they were saying that in Australia, and obviously the numbers offshore are not a lot higher in India, but in 2022, there's a real kind of buzz that they're predicting about over 2.5 million weddings happening over the course of 2022, because everything's just kind of pushing, everybody's pushing all across.
Absolutely. So, Gareth, I think the new learning, which even the hotels have thought, nobody would have thought. And as a segment, I think I want to mention definitely food delivery. None of the hotels had ever thought. I don't think any five-star hotel would have ever focused and thought that they would have a segment of food delivery, and they'll have a team dedicated to it. I think with the new normal, that's a big segment. That's as big as a room service revenue for a hotel.
Yeah, no, for sure.
People who are still not traveling, people who are still safe at home, they tend to order from hotels because the hygiene standards, the commitment to consistency and cleanliness that the hotels give to the guest have made them that confidence that, look, I'm not comfortable going to any restaurant. I want to make sure I want to order food for my family from a restaurant which delivers cleanliness and hygiene.
And flipping the coin, I guess, more to the associate and the employee side as well. Are there any kind of key developments, initiatives that IHG as a group are doing at the moment with around, kind of re-engaging those employees who've left because of COVID and to come back?
Absolutely, Gareth. Thank you so much for bringing that point. I think with the positivity and with the things improving now, I mean, I'm going to be looking at 70% occupancy from November for the hotel, and maybe more. Yeah. So we've got, and we are in the we're moving forward from HR point of view of rehiring people who had to let go. People who had to leave, or people who did not want to or were not comfortable, they started coming back. Some of them have got engaged in other hotels, frankly, so much. I mean, nobody's sitting at home trying to think that things are going to happen automatically. But what has happened is we've approached as a company, and we've taken that initiative of rehiring people who had left us during the time of pandemic or had gone back home into their hometowns and were not comfortable coming back. Now that journey has started. The huge demand globally has even opened opportunity doors for our, industry colleagues to travel outside India. I mean, Dubai, for that matter. I mean, I must mention that a lot of colleagues that I know who are working with me have started getting opportunities outside India because there's a huge shortage of industry experts. And I think the biggest learning in this COVID time has been multi-skilling, and somebody who has honed that multitasking ability in themselves is going to give them an edge.
Mm.
And that's something which the industry is looking at. Gone are those days where you will only be doing a receptionist job, or you don't only be doing a housekeeping room attendant job. You'll have to be multitask. You will become an asset to a company if you have 5 or 6 skills that you've attained.
And I mean, I think you just touched on that, those key innovations that we've seen in the industry over the past 18 months, we're taking about roles, for example, and, you're just saying that, the old days of an F&B attendant just working in one section of a restaurant, that's finished. And I guess kind of, again, with our students and those, the young aspiring hoteliers we've got coming into the industry, that it is just that much more exciting now that they, depending on whatever sector they want to go into, be it in, rooms, be it in food and beverage, sales and marketing, I mean, even in areas in human resources and finance, it's just becoming so incredibly diverse. And I mean, would you say that change of role, do you think that's here to stay, or do you think it's just kind of a case of just getting through maybe the next 18 to 24 months, and then maybe we start going back to those older kind of structures and those manning models? Or would you generally say, no, we've moved on as an industry, and this is the way forward?
Gareth, I mean, that's an uncertain answer right now. I think multi-skilling is here to stay. Of course, when I started my career in Australia way back, manning standards and manning matches are very different from Western to, Indian for that. In India, manpower was not focused at, but now with the change, with the ability to look at from a different lens, every stakeholder's understood that, look, you cannot have 10 people doing a job of 5. So, everyone wants to come back to the real deal and saying that, look, the real business deal is these are some standards which are going to stay forever. But to your point, I think with the economy and with the travel increasing, things are going to become normal, but not to the scale of what it used to be pre-pandemic. I think there are a lot of roles which are not going to be there. What is going to stay is people who have developed themselves with 5, 6 skills. They will definitely have an edge.
And I think the kind of leaning on from that, then, I mean, and as you'll recall from your time all those years ago, industry placement is obviously is part of both of our bachelor's and our master's curriculums. And we have at the moment we've got approximately 50 students that are back home in India at the moment, and currently obviously spread across such a vast country. And we've got a few of them that are watching right now, and no doubt there'll be a few others as well that will be catching up with the recording hereafter, etc. But for those students, and I guess not necessarily just for those back home in India, but I mean, those that are offshore at the moment from Australia and who may be sitting there and thinking that, COVID, yes, it has disrupted the plan of coming to Australia, etc. What would you say to those students about working or completing placement or taking an opportunity back home? Is that the right decision? Would you say?
I definitely think it's the right decision, Gareth. When I graduated in 2000, the amount of choices we had in India were very limited. And at that time, it made sense to do things outside India. Looking at the current scenario, I think the amount of opportunities that exist in the country are tremendous. I think the student, and my advice to everybody sitting is that open up to opportunities right now. I mean, look at and reach out to maybe you. And I think I'm more than happy to assist them across IHG in India. And we'll be more than happy to get them placements, because this is the time and this is the foundation of the career. If they don't utilize this time, if they don't get to know what's happening in the industry, it's going to be very difficult and challenging to know how things have evolved. As I said, this is going to stay for a while. So I think it's in the interest and benefit of the students to make sure they utilize this time. They go out and do their placements, and they don't wait for opportunity, or they don't wait for the doors to open back in Australia, because I don't know how long that's going to be. That's an uncertain answer. I'm sure you can't give it as well right now. But if they don't, they will be losing and not utilizing the time which is in their hand right now, because the pace and the speed of opening up in India is far, far, far more anywhere else in the world.
It's fascinating. That's really, really fascinating to hear that. I know when we caught up a couple of weeks ago, and we were chatting, obviously when we extended the invite and we asked you to obviously come and be able to have the opportunity of speaking for this first episode, we really wanted to kind of, I guess one of the things that we are discussing about is that our students, a lot of the students that we have back home, we are saying that this world is such a small world, and we know that. We know how small the world of hotels is, and I mean, even the other day when we were chatting about obviously speaking to other people and from IHG in different regions, etc., just as a small basis, but even the alumni network that we have with the school, with over 7,000 alumni across the globe now. It just really is just such a small world, and it's about building those relationships, because Australia will always be here, and that opportunity to undertake that international experience, it will certainly be there, and many of our students, obviously from overseas, will follow that path that you took all those years ago, and in having that international experience, but then being able to return home in the years to come and already having that network base. So it's almost, in essence, you're kind of assisting yourself all ahead, so to speak. So, I mean, I guess the last question I wanted to kind of run just by you before we opened it up to our Q&A, etc., is, watching today, we've obviously got those who were where you once were in their shoes, and for those future leaders, what three pieces of advice would you offer our future leaders, particularly considering 2021 and obviously moving forward out of COVID?
Look, I think I want to use this quote, what Steve Jobs says, stay hungry, stay foolish. That's something which is good. Be flexible. If we become rigid, if we are not flexible, it gives us a very limited scope of growth in life. I promised myself when I graduated from Australia in 2000 that if I don't become a general manager in 15 years, I would not be working in the industry. And to so much so, I never thought. I just promised. When I graduated, I was sitting on stage and I said, I have to be a GM in 15 years. And believe me, the foundation, the tools, the learning that Blue Mountains gave me in 2000 when I graduated made me a GM in 2015. I think one thing that I want to share with everyone is believe in yourself. This industry has got huge opportunity. This industry is probably the most has got the most powerful people that are going to that work in this industry, because putting a smile on your face every day, no matter how bad of a day you've had in life, and continuing and making sure that you make people smile, that's something that is not easy. That's something I know how much focus it takes, how much patience it takes for the team members to consistently do that every day. The last thing is have an X factor. Be unique in yourself. Don't let yourself be taken, and don't copy and imitate anybody. You're yourself. Be yourself. Everyone's unique. Everyone's got a hidden talent which they should use to grow in their life and become successful in this. So I think those are some three takeaways that I want to give to all the students: that believe in yourself, make sure that this uncertainty cloud is not going to be there. There's going to be sunshine, and it's going to be shining very bright. Industry is not going away anywhere. It's going to bounce back, and it's going to bounce back to a level which nobody would have ever imagined.
I'm inspired. I'm inspired. If the borders were open now, I'd love to have an opportunity to work under you one day. That's for sure.
Thank you, Gareth.
Wow,
that means a lot. That means a lot to me. That means a lot because coming from you, coming from the students, I believe in a dream. And if I dreamt of it 15 years ago, and I've been able to last myself during pandemic, I think anybody and everybody can do it.
Yeah. No, 100%. No, thank you, Amit. Thank you very, very much for that insight. That's been fascinating, and half an hour has gone so incredibly fast. I could definitely carry on.
Has it gone?
It has. Yes,
wow.
It has very, very much so. So I'd like to kind of open up the Q&A. If I may, so for students that have got questions, I know we've had a couple that have come through already. The first one I've actually got is actually from one of my colleagues who's actually a lecturer with me at our Adelaide campus, and she has said, what is it that what as a general manager and even probably from a department head perspective, what do you look for in a future employee, and if applicable, why do Blue Mountains graduates that you have hired in the past, why do they stand out from others?
Look, I don't want to be sounding biased towards Blue Mountains because that's very close to my heart. So keeping that aside, I think the unique teaching, the unique foundation which Blue Mountains gives to a student gives a very different perspective. You can be, when you become a hotel graduate you worked in the kitchen, you worked in F&B service, you worked in housekeeping, you're master of all trades. You know everything, what happens in the hotel, and you can't be standing there looking at a question mark. How is a bed made? How is a steak done? How do you go and cut onions I'm sure that's something which, not everyone does. But I think Blue Mountains teaches you those tools, gives you those tools where you're able to experience and be an expert in all the areas of the hotel. So that's very, very important when you are when I'm talking about multitasking. And I think now coming back to that question, what do I look at when I'm hiring an HOD in XCOM? I think that is the trade. I don't look at it when I'm hiring an F&B or when I'm hiring an HR. That HR for me, the first answer that I expect from HR is, tomorrow if I have a shortage of housekeeping, what do I expect the HR team to do? The HR leader says, I'm ready to fold my sleeves and come and help the housekeeping team to make beds, is the answer that I'm looking at. So if the HR manager is saying I'm going to hire more people, I'm going to look at casual staff and get more team members, I'm sorry, that answer will not fly. I think the expectation is that how do you make sure that we utilize our internal hotel teams and align ourselves to work together as one team. If you don't do that together, the opportunities will become limited. So that's a very important trait, which I think everyone's looking in the industry, is that lens of doing things in a different way.
No, 100%. No, I think that's very much a very, very, very in-depth answer. Thank you. And then I've just got there's another question that's popped up as well, which is looks like from one of our students that's actually back home in India at the moment. And I know you sort of touched on this a little bit earlier, but they were asking about sharing some tips, obviously, on how to approach hotels within India, on potentially getting an internship back home at a good property. We've obviously got our network, obviously, as the industry consultant team, and we're obviously in touch with yourself, for example, etc. But I mean,
Absolutely.
I guess in terms of kind of being somebody that's there on the ground at the moment, what advice would you give about being able to source those opportunities, etc.?
Look, Gareth, I'm sure you're the first point of contact, but I'm more than happy to put my hand up and say they can reach out to me directly. I'll be more than happy to get them connected to our corporate office in Delhi and have multiple placements across the country. So we have hotels across from top to bottom of the country. There are opportunities which definitely exist, and with things bouncing back, I think they will not have any problem in getting their placements.
100%. No, thank you for that. And I think for all those students that are on and watching today, and even watching the recordings, I think just to stress that a lot of the industry work that myself and Miss Vanessa Falzon, who's also our industry consultant for the school, a lot of the work that we've been doing over the course of this last year is building those relationships with our industry partners overseas, and in particular, obviously, our graduate privileged partners that we have. Across all sectors of Asia Pacific and the subcontinent, and we've even had a lot of success stories with some students going to Dubai and being part of everything that's happening with the Dubai Expo happening in the course of the next couple of weeks, about to start. We've also had some students as well recently start placements in Hong Kong, and also in China as well, and a few students also even taking some opportunities in Indonesia as well. So as I think for the person that's asked that question, I would definitely encourage you to reach out to your success coach as well. And certainly the industry team, and we will certainly do everything we can by obviously us using our network that we have in regards to being able to reach out to obviously such professionals as Mr. Rana, etc. We've also got one of our success coaches actually from Sydney. He is actually put in an interesting one. He always drops this one normally. What career advice would you give yourself now, looking back on your Blue Mountains days? So if you had to get back in a time capsule and head back in the capsule, arrive out at the station at Lura, take a short stroll there up the steps, and then see yourself sitting on the front porch there, what advice would you give yourself that to your younger self?
Wow, that's a difficult one, Gareth. That's a difficult one. I think the same what I've said earlier as well. That have a belief in yourself. When I arrived at the Blue Mountains, and when I was at the Blue Rush station, I was picking up my bags. It was snow. It was just full of snow. It was June. That was my session. I still remember. If I'm talking to you right now, I'm having a flashback. Thinking about when I was climbing those stairs, when I first landed in Blue Mountains campus, it was just amazing because, look, I was 17 and I had never left out of the country. This is the first time you land. But one thing I believed in myself when I landed there, and in the first 6 months, I promised that, look, I'm here to stay in the industry. I love this industry, and you either got to love it or you hate it. There are no two other ways to it. You can't say that I want to be something, I want to be in the industry. And I know a lot of students and my colleagues who are not their industry anymore. They've either become financial bankers, or they've become businessmen, or they've become, advisors or calls or X, Y, Z. But people who have stayed back have really grown. I know a lot of people in IHG who've grown roles, and I think the self-belief, and one thing that, as I said, I would definitely would do is I want to change some of the mistakes that I did when I was doing. I wasn't social enough. I want to definitely go back to that time. If I could change, I'd be more social and I'd be more vocal, which I wasn't, which, has changed over the years. But I think that's the only thing. I think the opportunity you get when you are at the Blue Mountains is you can make friends globally. I still have, my Facebook, my Instagram, emails have really made me connected. And that's a good thing. When I'm traveling to a country, I don't think twice. I just have to put a status of, or flash out to a few alumni friends and we get together. That's the power of the school that gives you a global perspective. If you're traveling from United States, or if you're traveling to Hong Kong or China or Philippines or Cambodia or Indonesia, you will find a friend and a colleague to help you out.
It's certainly a very, very small world, that's for sure. As you just said it. No, 100%, 100%. No, thank you for that.
I don't know if I was able to answer the question.
No, definitely. No, I think you most certainly were. I think you most certainly were. I'm just conscious of time, so I know we've got time for one final question. And this actually comes from one of our students who's based at our town hall campus. And he's asked where, and this is one I always don't personally enjoy answering, but I always think it's a fun one to ask myself. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? You know, you're obviously at that level now of being a general manager, etc. And for some people, that is the pinnacle. For others, it's just the start. So for us to put that to you and to say, you know, where does Mr. Amit Rana find himself in the next 5 years? How would you put that?
Look, I think I've been a GM for now 5 years or 6 years. Now the next role that comes is the area GM role or a cluster GM role. That's something that I aspire to do, and probably looking at doing a country head role as well after those 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's something that I aspire to do. I want to become do a multi-cluster draw or a area GM role.
And I think I think everything that is happening, I think with IHG as a company, and there's just so much exciting stuff that's happening, and they're definitely one of the brands globally that are really leading the way at the moment. And in terms of staff care in particular, there's a lot of focus about empowerment and retention of people and everything. And I think certainly the sky's definitely the limit for such an incredible hotel group, that's for sure.
Absolutely.
All right, so wonderful insight. And again, Mr. Rana, thank you so much for your time this afternoon or this morning for you there in Delhi. Certainly a lot for us to digest with so much promise and excitement to come for such our incredible industry. So ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our first Global Perspective Series session. We look forward to seeing you next week, where we will be joined by Miss Sophie Mogul, who's from the IHG corporate office in Singapore. And we wish you a pleasant end to the week. But most importantly, please stay safe, stay well, and we will see you all very, very soon.
Thank you, Gareth. I think it was really great to be here and to talking to students. I hope I was able to give value and give my perspective towards their career. And I think one parting word is, again, don't worry about what's happening. Just ignore that noise, ignore that environment which is creating negativity. Stay focused, stay positive, and focus on your future career.
Super. Thank you very much, Mr. Rana.
Thank you. Thank you, Gareth.